Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video segment every single morning where we catch up with things that have been taking place in the world of sport while you were catching up on some all-important rest, because let's face it, whilst you and I and the whole world really need sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. There's always something or the other going on, and it can be a little tough to keep a track on every little thing that is happening, but worry not, that's what we're here for. And let's start off with something rather regrettable that has happened in the aftermath of the India versus Pakistan match. Now we know that the India-Pakistan game, especially in a World Cup or in the T20 World Cup as is the case this time around, can lead to a lot of emotions riding very high, but that isn't, let's say, a justification for any sort of discriminatory language. And unfortunately that is what ended up happening on the other side of the border when former Pakistan wicketkeeper Kamran Akmal ended up saying something that was actually very offensive to the Sikh community as a whole, in reference to Arshdeep Singh bowling the final over of the game against Pakistan, and he ended up getting called out for it rather badly by a lot of people, including Harbhajan Singh, who basically said that you should know the history of Sikhs before you actually say things. We had saved you when invaders came for you guys, and shame on you guys, have some gratitude. It's a pretty big rant, and truth be told, I can understand Harbhajan's frustration in this case, because what was said by Kamran Akmal at that point in time was not on in the slightest. It's not something that should be said, particularly on a public platform. I mean, it's something that you should not be saying in privacy either, but definitely not on a public platform where you know that people will be hearing you and actually digesting those things that are being said. And it did end up drawing an apology from Kamran Akmal, who said that, look, I deeply regret my recent comments and sincerely apologize to Harbhajan Singh and the Sikh community. My words were inappropriate and disrespectful. I have the utmost respect for Sikhs all over the world and never intended to hurt anyone. I'm truly sorry. Definitely seems like a PR crafted apology to me, but at the very least you can appreciate the sentiment and say, okay, look, he acknowledged it, he apologized it, let's move on and let this be a lesson to people that perhaps taking out your frustration or trying to make jokes of this regard, of this nature on a public platform, not exactly the best of idea, folks. Park the brakes if you ever get the urge to make such lines or say such things on a public platform. It's just not on. And even if you have to joke about with things, maybe not try and be offensive to that degree. Maybe just a thought. Anyway, switching our focus back to things that were taking place on the field, and South Africa became the first team to qualify for the knockouts of the T20 World Cup, or not the knockouts, rather the Super 8s, when they beat Bangladesh in a low-scoring thriller. However, the man of the match, Heinrich Klaassen, did have a little bit of criticism reserved for the pitch. Shocker. He said that, look, you don't mind playing low scoring games, but if you're trying to market the product and market the sport of cricket as a whole, these kind of pitches probably not going to be good enough to be doing the job in that regard. He's saying as cricketers, you don't really mind playing on pitches like these, but if you're trying to market the sport, trying to make it accessible to newer audiences, maybe, just maybe, this isn't the best way to go about with things. And of course, Klaassen's criticism is, let's say, the latest in a long line of criticisms that we have heard for the New York surface. And it's easy to understand why. Despite the fact that there have been matches now played on the surfaces, it just doesn't seem to be getting easier at all. There's a lot of difficulties, and it does seem like this is the reality we're going to have to live with when it comes to the New York pitch. However, the New York ground is now going to be hosting another very key match in the group stages, but this is the thing, there is a little bit of a rain threat over it. I'm of course talking about Pakistan's game against Canada, and why it is that this is important is because for Pakistan now, they're in a situation where they cannot afford to lose a single game at all. Put it this way, the precipitation levels aren't high. It's 25% chances during the afternoon time in New York, but if the match is impacted by rain, or worse yet, if it's washed out, put it this way, if the game is washed out, then Pakistan are out, because the maximum points that they'll be able to get, 30, which will not be enough to topple the 4 points that the USA already have, which should actually that it would put USA in a better position to qualify for the knockouts than Pakistan would be out. You need a match to happen, even if it is a rain truncated encounter. The rain percentages aren't that high, but put it this way, we've seen that if the rain does hit, it does take a little bit of time. Remember the India-Pakistan game also, there was a fair bit of rain threat in that regard, and you'd not want a situation whereby the game is impacted by rain if you're a Pakistan cricket fan. Switching focus now from the world of cricket to the world of football, and the post Sunil Chhetri era will be beginning for the Indian football team when they take on Qatar of all teams in a must-win game in the FIFA World Cup and AFC Asian Cup qualifiers. Now, why it is a must-win game is due to the fact that, well, because they've ended up dropping points against teams that they should have been beating, they now are in a situation where they need to beat the toughest team in the group. Qatar, of course, have already qualified and may very well take this as a slightly lighter assignment, but it still won't be an easy job for India. There's not going to be any Sunil Chhetri. You will be captained by Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. But more so than anything else, it's just in a situation so ridiculous that India find themselves that they were able to beat Kuwait, but they ended up losing a game to Afghanistan and drawing a game to Afghanistan. Those should have been 6 guaranteed points, which should have taken them to the third round of qualifiers, which would not only guarantee them AFC Asian Cup qualification, but also take them one step closer to qualifying for the FIFA World Cup. But that doesn't seem like it's going to be happening. They'll need a miracle and a half in order to get things done. The match is going to be later today, so keep an eye out on that as well. Another bit of news, and this is an interesting one, there have been convictions made in Spain over fans using racist abuse towards Vinicius Jr., the Real Madrid forward, and he took to social media to post a pretty powerful message in that regard, where he said that, look, many asked me to ignore it, and many others said that my fight was in vain and that I should just quote-unquote play football. But as I've always said, I'm not a victim of racism, I'm a tormentor of racists. This first criminal conviction in the history of Spain is not for me, it's for all black people. May other races be afraid, ashamed, and hide in the shadows. Otherwise, I'll be here to collect. Thank you to La Liga and Real Madrid for helping with this historic conviction. More to come. Now, Vinicius has, of course, been one of the most, let's say, targeted players when it comes to racist abuse in Spain. And the sad reality is that it is something that is seen as very normalized in a lot of countries. Spain is one. Italy is another place where players of color have often felt very badly targeted by fans. And it is something that you would think in a civilized society would stop and needs to be stopped. But a conviction like this could very well go a long way to ensure that at the very least they won't be going public with some of their abhorrent views. Let's put it that way. More football news, and this is in fact one of those things that not a lot of people are talking about, but it's something that needs to be talked about. 2 players now, Robert Lewandowski and Frankie de Jong, who you can see on your screen, have picked up injuries ahead of the Euros. Lewandowski, well, it's only a minor injury, but it does mean he may miss out on the early parts of the group stage. De Jong has been ruled out of the Euros altogether, which is a huge blow for Netherlands, but once again puts the spotlight rather squarely on the fact that the football calendar is getting dangerously cramped. You have more games through the season than ever, and there is no scope for an off season because you have international competitions taking place thick and fast. And the real question is, how much is too much? You're seeing even more additions take place from potentially next year, given there's going to be a FIFA Club World Cup. And really, when exactly does it stop? How is it going to be reaching a point now that you're going to be seeing footballers play all the year round? Is that fair on footballers? Is it fair for them to be putting their body on the line 12 months a year, especially given football is such a high impact, high intensity kind of sport? I would say no, but you're seeing the realities now of a cramped schedule come, and let's just hope that, there are not many more major injuries heading into the football season for 2024 and 25. A little bit of Indian-centric news now, and India's badminton challenge in the Australian Open tournament will be spearheaded by HS Prannoy, and it is an interesting time really for anyone who's in the sport, because again, you've got the Paris Olympics coming up. You want to be taking momentum into Paris rather than losing momentum. You want to be playing on a high, and Prannoy, well, all eyes will be on him, because again, as far as even men's singles go, he's someone who there will be hopes harbored for. So fingers crossed he can put up a good show in Australia. But that's it from this edition of the Morning Wrap at Sports Today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate you joining us, and if you like our work, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done as well. Stay tuned, we have plenty more coming your way. For now though, from my side, it is goodbye.